This is the Security Council, center of power at the United Nations in New York. In 1996, the Council allowed Iraq to sell some of its oil reserves in order to buy food and other basic needs. This is known as oil for food. All the money from the sale of Iraq's oil is controlled by the Security Council, which the United States dominates, and with Britain takes a hard line on Iraq. Everything that goes to Iraq must be approved by a special sanctions committee run by the Council. This committee has consistently blocked the restoration of basic services in Iraq: power, light, and clean running water. For the children of Iraq, oil means food. Although the Iraqis have been told they can repair their damaged oil industry, contracts for vital equipment have been blocked or delayed in New York. Currently, more than $1.5 billion worth of desperately needed shipments are on hold, including food, life-saving medical equipment, such as equipment to diagnose and treat cancer, and X-ray machines, heart and lung machines, firefighting equipment, agricultural equipment, and toilet soap. The stated aim of the sanctions is to eradicate Iraq's weapons of mass destruction. Just before last Christmas, the Department of Trade and Industry in London blocked a shipment of vaccines intended to protect Iraqi children against yellow fever and diphtheria. The vaccines, said the minister, are capable of being used in weapons of mass destruction. This is Dennis Halliday, former Assistant Secretary General of the United Nations, the man in charge of the humanitarian operation in Iraq. In 1998, he resigned, accusing the West of destroying a whole society. We took him on his first trip back. In the cancer clinic of this hospital in Baghdad, he had a remarkable reunion with a young girl whose life he helped to save.
John, this is Safa Majid and her father, who is Majid Ali. Safa I met 2 years ago in this hospital when she was in very poor condition of leukemia. And one cannot deal with thousands, but one can deal with 1 or 2 or 3 or 4
Dennis
children.
Halliday.
And I was able, with the help of the World Health Organization, to bring in drugs, although be it illegally, from overseas. Enough for 2 years of treatment with this little girl. And today she looks wonderful and beautiful, and she has only now treatment once every month. So I think she's almost cured of leukemia.
She is one of 4, wasn't she?
One of 4.
Tell me about the others.
Well, within the first 5 weeks of meeting these 4 children, 2 died simply for lack of medications, or it was too late, in fact, to save their lives. And there were 2 little girls, including Safa, who have survived.
Why did they die?
They died because they had sophisticated problems, which the medications were not available.
And when you set out to help these children, you were the United Nations representative here.
That's right.
And to do it, what you're saying is you had to act illegally.
I had to breach my own economic sanctions, so to speak, established by the Security Council, as we know, led by Washington and by London. I think in this hospital we've seen today evidence of the killing that is now the responsibility of the Security Council member states. Particularly, I think, Bill Clinton and Tony Blair. They should be here with us. They should see the impact of what their decisions and their sustaining of economic sanctions means. The very provisions of the Charter and the Declaration of Human Rights have been set aside. And we are waging a warfare through the United Nations on the children and people of Iraq with incredible results. Results that you do not expect to see in a war under the Geneva Conventions. We're targeting civilians, worse, we're targeting children like Safa, who of course were not born when Iraq went into Kuwait. I mean, what is this about? It's a monstrous situation for the United Nations for the Western world, for all of us who are part of some democratic system, who are, in fact, responsible for the policies of our governments and the implementation of economic sanctions on Iraq.
When the U.S. Secretary of State, Madeleine Albright, was asked on American television if she thought the death of more than 500,000 children was a price worth paying, she replied, "We think the price is worth it."
We don't accept the 500,000 figure. So if you say that Secretary Albright said, oh, a 500,000
Former State Department
is the price
spokesperson
worth
James
paying, we don't accept that.
It's the World Health Organization.
I understand
Yeah.
that's their figure, and it's derived by a methodology that we don't accept. We do accept the idea that in choosing, in making policy, one has to choose usually between two bad choices, not between a good choice and a bad choice. And unfortunately, the effect of sanctions has been more than we would have hoped. What we've tried to do is to limit that effect, as I indicated, through the Oil for Food and other programs to try to provide food and medicine for the people of Iraq. And so, yes, when Secretary Albright was talking about the hard choice, she was acknowledging the hard choice between the effect of sanctions and the idea of letting Saddam Hussein run rampant, but she wasn't accepting the 500,000 figure.
How many children do you think
we
have
don't
died?
have a figure. It's not something that one can easily make, and we think some of the people who put these figures out inevitably have to use some dubious methodology.
While Western politicians quibble about methodology, the latest United Nations study says that the death rate of children has doubled under sanctions. That's 500,000 dead in 8 years.
Hassan Rashid, 18 months old, it's before disease, this after the disease, a case of neuroblastoma in 1993. The child died also because there's no drugs at all. Ali Assad, this is also a case of Hodgkin disease in 1998. He finished treatment. Some of the drugs brings by the family, and he is cured now.
So if you are rich, it's likely you live, and if you are poor,
This die. If the drugs is not available in hospitals, and the family is very poor, the child, he will die soon or later. I thought that.
how do you cope with this work?
Very hardly.
I ask that because I saw you in the corridor there. You'd broken into tears.
Yes. Everything is devastating to us. It's frustrating me because I faced many problems and I couldn't do anything. And what happened in the future? All these children is generation of the future. We lose the generation. I want to tell you some things. What the crime the Iraqi children were done to receive this punishment?
What crime?
What a crime.
In Baghdad, what foreigners don't see are well-stocked clinics where Saddam Hussein and his rich cronies get first-class treatment, an indication that sanctions have not hurt them in the slightest.
Why should the civilian population, including children